Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and it is finally over. It's funny, I got a comment earlier today from one of my longtime subscribers. They said that they couldn't wait for the buy two get one to be over so that I could stop talking about it. And I thought that that was pretty funny. Yeah, man, look, when GameStop does a promotion like this, I am going to milk it for all I can. And that's exactly what I did. Today was the last day that I was able to pick up any more games based on the buy two get one promo. And, I could get a bunch of footage and kind of make these big long videos about, the promo, but I just kind of give you the info in real time just to kind of let you see what I'm picking up. And just to let you know that the deals are out there. So hopefully you guys were able to pick up some stuff, make some deals happen, add some really cool games to your collection. I'm gonna show you some of my last pickups, and then at the end of it all, I think I'll just kind of go over some of my favorite pickups from this whole ordeal. So first off, before we get to the buy two get one games, I am gonna just talk about some games that I picked up from some really oddball places. I picked up about 5 or 6 games from a local thrift store, and then someone told me about this random like toy store in my neighborhood where a guy sells like random video games, and I made one pickup there. So we'll talk about those pickups first, and then we'll get into the last of the buy two get one pickups. So first up, we have this complete in box copy of Robots for the GameCube. Next, we have Surf's Up on the GameCube. Again, complete in box. These are all complete in box. Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventure, Wii U. Tony Hawk, I forgot to take the sticker off this one. Tony Hawk's Underground 2 for the PlayStation 2. So this was a pleasant surprise. Again, complete. And then Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. So these, 5 games here. So these 5 games were all roughly $5 a piece. So for 27 bucks, I was able to pick up these 5 games, which I'm not mad at, really. I thought that was a pretty decent deal from the thrift store. These aren't bangers or anything like that, but I would say probably the best game out of the bunch would be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. That one will probably stay in the collection, along with Lord of the Rings. This one may stay in the collection as well. I'm still on the fence about these two GameCube games and Pac-Man, but I'm thinking these 2 are going to stay in the collection for sure. Just building back up that PS2 collection, man. And then speaking of the PS2, I found this oddball game at a mom and pop shop. This is Devil Kings on the PlayStation 2. This is pretty much a hack and slasher that I had in my collection at one point a long time ago. Now, I picked it up primarily because the disc was actually in really good condition. The manual wasn't too bad. And, it's hard for me to say no to a good hack and slasher, especially when it's one from Capcom. Now, this game has a lot of issues. There are issues with this game, but this was one that I decided to go ahead and add back to the collection. So all in all, not a bad deal on PlayStation 2 games from just random spots, right, that I happen to run to. So finding these while game hunting was pretty decent. So we'll push those to the side. Now let's look at the buy two get one games. So I was only able to pick up 2 sets of buy two get one games, and we'll talk about this first set here. So this first set of games that I picked up were just some games that were in like the $27 to $29.99 range. First is SteamWorld Dig 2. So like I said, today I was really looking mostly for like Switch, PS5, and PS4 games, but I was really only looking for like indie titles. Wasn't really trying to get anything AAA. And so they did have this copy of SteamWorld Dig 2 on the Switch. It did have the inserts and stuff. So I thought this was a pretty cool pickup to get back into the collection rather. I can dig this one. This is kind of like a platforming, it's almost like a side-scrolling platforming Metroidvania, I think, style type of game. I remember hearing about this game, but never really getting too deep into it. But this was one that I added back. So SteamWorld Dig 2. Then behind SteamWorld Dig 2, I did pick up 2 retro games. So first is this complete copy of Metal Gear Solid. Again, it still has some old school stickers on it, but I went ahead and pulled the trigger on this one because it was complete. The case doesn't have any like real cracks or major damage on it, and the discs were pretty clean. I just got to wipe them down. And on top of that, it did have the manual. So I find a lot of copies of Metal Gear Solid. It's funny how many copies I find that don't have the original manual. So this one did have its original manual, and that was appealing to me. A little piece of history here. So went ahead and added Metal Gear Solid to the sheepfold. Has both discs and is a pretty cool pickup. Just a little piece of history here, man. I remember when Metal Gear Solid first came out, everybody was up on Metal Gear Solid, man. Really, really cool game. Added this one in, and then also got this copy of Dragon Ball Z Extreme Botoden. Now, I think this one might be a double, to be honest with you, because I just went through my 3DS collection, and while I was in the store, I couldn't remember if I had this or not. I should have checked Game Eye, but they didn't really have anything else worth picking up in that price range. And the meter was running and I needed to get out of there. So I added this one in. So this was my first basically 3-game bundle where I obviously got my pro member discounts, got the 5% back towards my next purchase, and then also got the 3rd game free. So this bundle was about 59 bucks, so I wasn't too mad at that. And then my second bundle was made up of more Switch games. So I definitely got more Switch. Really didn't get a whole lot of PS5 during this run. Really a lot more Switch stuff. So first Switch pickup was Luigi's Mansion 2 HD for the Switch. So this was one that I picked up as part of a trio. Then the second game that I picked up was Ys Nordics. Now I do have Ys already. I think I have it sealed from from Best Buy. But again, at the time, I was really trying to look for games to match the value. And Ys was the only game that they had to match the value for the game that I was really going after. But this one did come with all the inserts and everything. And the fact that it's unsealed means that I can actually play it and get into it a little bit. So I'll probably dive into this one. But it is a double, so I'm not sure what I'm doing with my doubles at the moment. They could become trade bait in the future. Got to see where that lands, but this is a double for me. And then last but not least, the real game that I went after, the real reason why I picked those 2 games up was for this game. And that is The Legend of Zelda: The Four Swords. Now, this is disc only. I try not to do a lot of disc only games. I really do. But I have a feeling I'm going to run into this case and manual at some point. Not sure when, but I really have a feeling I will. So we'll see on that. I did pick up a couple of other game only games before, and I was able to use those games to trade for Shining Wisdom on the Sega Saturn. So those pickups are no longer with me because they've already been traded for other games. So now with that being said, I kind of just want to take a step back and kind of just examine, I guess, what were some of my favorite pickups during this week, because really I kind of attacked it really heavy this week, just making some of these pickups, and we'll kind of go through some of the games that I was most stoked to add to the collection, starting off with this copy of Metal Gear Solid. Since we're already here, I've actually been eyeing a copy of Metal Gear Solid for a while, and to get a complete copy for the original PlayStation is a really cool piece of history that I'm glad to have back into the collection. So this is one that I was really stoked to add. Another game that I was really stoked to add was this copy of Earthworm Jim 2 for the Super Nintendo. I had a lot of Super Nintendo pickups, and a few of them were really standout titles for me. Earthworm Jim 2 was definitely one of them, so was glad to have that. Another one that I was glad to add, another Super Nintendo game, was Street Fighter Alpha 2 on the Super Nintendo. Another really good pickup, in my opinion. Was glad to be able to add that one in. And then continuing with the Super Nintendo, Super Mario Kart was another one. Really glad to find that one. Another game that I had just been eyeing on the Super Nintendo for quite some time. Just never really had a chance to pull the trigger and pick it up. So I finally did during this promotion. Another notable pickup, Dragon Quest VII. I've been trying to get into the Dragon Quest series a little bit more. I feel like these RPGs for me are a little bit easier to play on handheld. So I was pretty stoked to find that. I don't know if I've ever found this game out in the wild before, so that was kind of like a unique find for me. The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks was another really cool pickup, another cool find out of all the games that I was able to find out in the wild. Well, in the GameStop wild. I only had one PlayStation 5 pickup, but it was a really good one. A cool little Metroidvania that not a lot of people know about, but After Image, you know, it came out, I want to say a couple years ago. Probably a little bit more popular on the Switch, but this was a cool one to find on the PS5, so I was glad to have been able to add that one in. Behind all of that, was pretty stoked to add some cool Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games as well. So first off, Kirby's Tilt and Tumble. That one was a really cool one to add through the promotion. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon was interesting. That was an interesting find. I don't typically find Pokemon games like that, and even if I do, I don't pick them up unless they're kind of like the OGs. So that one was a cool one to just find, again, out in the wild. Sonic 2, also very interesting one. Was glad to be able to add that one. And then, of course, Battletoads on the original Game Boy. So had some really cool handheld pickups. Also had Castlevania, Circle of the Moon, and Lilo and Stitch. So those were some pretty cool picks. As well as Mega Man X4, man. The Mega Man series didn't get enough love, but definitely glad to be able to add those. I would say that those were probably some of the most standout pickups. Of course, Legends of Zelda 4 Swords was also a really cool pickup, but I would say that, you know, just considering the games that I was able to add into the collection, these are some really solid titles. Didn't find any grails during this promotion, but I was able to use the games that I did pick up to snag some grails. So definitely glad I was able to do that. So let me know if you took advantage at all of this deal. I feel like I've gotten a lot of really cool pieces to add to the collection. I also have a lot of trade chips now. I'm definitely going to be able to refill the war chest for any future trades that may come my way, or anything that I might be interested in. I've got my eye on something. I've got my eye on another grail. It may take a couple weeks for me to pull that deal off, but if I am able to pull it off, I will definitely keep you guys in the loop and let you know. But for now, let me know if you took advantage of the last day of the buy two get one. What did you pick up? What did you find? I'm interested to know, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.